Hi there, welcome to our Made Tech team interview series. This is a collection of chats aimed to better understand what each role within Made Tech is all about and to feature the great work members of our team are doing. My name is Carson. I'm the digital marketing executive here at Made Tech, and today I will be talking with Andreas, our head of product management and business analysis based in our Manchester office. Andreas, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. It's a busy morning, but it's lunchtime now, so I can take a little bit of time out to do some chatting.
Good, good. Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. To get started with just a little bit about you, how did you become interested in tech?
Okay, so I'm from the Lake District, way up in the north, which meant there wasn't much tech, especially a long time ago. And in 1984, I saw a poster for the first ever Macintosh called Test Driver Mac. It was a mouse, never seen one of those before, somebody's hand on the mouse.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted one. And that was it. That was it. I was sold from that point on. And then couldn't afford one for like a decade. But just got into computing as everybody did in the 80s to make games and do that kind of thing.
Nice, nice. And I guess outside of tech, what hobbies do you have?
Um, I raced mountain bikes competitively for probably a couple of
Oh,
decades.
wow.
I had a big crash in 2015. The recovery from that took a long time, and I lost my nerve. So I said I've retired. Uh, I fell around from that, but kind of that where I live out in the country, I would do village fates have all got a fell race. I do those for fun these days, but I'm not so serious. And the key thing I've done now is I've rediscovered my passion for making electronic music. I had a studio when I was young, and I've got the opportunity to do that now again. So I've really indulged myself with some nice shiny bits of kit.
Nice. That's a really good one to have. It's fun, especially during lockdown to kind
Yeah.
of do your own thing and create some music. Yeah.
And you always see when you're on Zoom calls with people, they'll have like something in the background, and you go, "Oh, what's that you've got there?" And before you know, like half the meeting is gone just talking about electronic music and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Great way to meet people and connect. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. And before you joined Maytech, had you worked in the public sector at all?
Yeah, so at my previous company, I'd done projects for Camden and Westminster councils for about 4 years. I must have done 5 projects for them over that time. So loads of local government experience, no central government stuff. That's the
Mm,
new area for me at MadeTech.
nice. And how do you find working in the public sector?
Um, I really love the difference in focus, because prior to that, an awful lot of commercial work where I talked about where I really focused on, it was about a product and about competition. And now it's about making things for the public. And I love the fact that we actually make the thing that the public actually use that interacts with these organizations that we work for. So we make the tangible bit for them. And I feel really proud to do that.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something I hear just a lot in the conversations that I have during these interviews is, yeah, it's just really nice to feel like you are making such an impact on just the people, your neighbors, like all around you. So,
Sure.
yeah.
And it's not to degrade commercial work, because
Yeah.
that's how products get made, but their agenda really is about being in a competitive market space and
Mm.
being one step ahead, and they use agile for that, whereas we use agile in the public sector to be more efficient and to make better products, and I like that real purity of it.
Yeah, definitely. And how long have you been at MadeTech?
My anniversary is next month for 2 years, so
Wow.
pretty good
Nice.
going. That makes me a long-standing member of the company. When
Yeah.
when I speak to people and they go, "Oh, I finished onboarding last week," and you're like, "Oh wow, there's so many people I don't know in Maytech now."
Yeah, it's growing really quickly. It's
Sure is.
great. Yeah. How did you find out about the company?
Right. This is the most embarrassing job application or discovering a company I've ever done. So I was on a stag do in Bath, with a mountain biking friend who moved back down south,
Mm.
and my phone was in my back pocket, and I accidentally called Ian Southwood with my bomb and didn't know I'd done it. So Ian was on the phone hearing me being quite drunk in a bar in Bath, pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
that length of time ago. And then in the morning when I woke up, and Ian phoned me up and like, what was all that about? And I was pretty hungover, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. And then we just got chatting, and he said, you should apply for a job with us. And so, because I knew Ian from before, that's why I had his phone number. Within 6 weeks, I had a new job. So
Wow.
interesting stag do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the more unique
Yeah. It's
stories I've heard.
yeah, it's when people tell me something embarrassing, I always counter with that so that they feel at ease and they go, yeah, okay, Andreas, we'll just move swiftly on now.
Nice, nice. And what attracted you to Made Tech?
I really like the fact that they had a way of working that really fitted with me. And although what actually happened is I just kind of got chucked in at the deep end, and Luke was just kind of like, you're ahead of product. I don't expect to tell you anything. Just go and do it. That was really scary, but it was also really great because of the fact they could go, we should work like this. And they had clear values, so I had boundaries to work within, but I could say, we're going to run inceptions, we're going to promote this particular flavor of agile, and we're going to work in these particular ways. And then when they do work, they're great. They become part of how we do it. And when they don't, we don't. So the freedom to experiment as well is really valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And for anyone looking to apply, it sounds like your interview process might be a bit unique, but what was that like for you?
Well, when it actually became formal, I met Ian and Rory in the Cafe Nero at Piccadilly train station. That was my first interview. No, I was interviewed by Ian at Piccadilly train station, because the thing about Ian is he likes coffee shops. So I had two interviews in coffee shops, one with Ian and Rory. Then I had interviews with Yasmin and Luke down in London. But the great thing is, because I was having to pay for a train ticket to London out of my own pocket, I was going to travel as cheaply as possible, which meant I had to spend the whole day in London.
Okay.
So I said, can I just stay in your offices and spend the day there and just work at a table, a desk? And they said, yeah, sure. And so what I did was, there was an interview, but then I got to see how Maytech actually worked, and that was really nice. So I was kind of fly on the wall for a day at Maytech, and I thought, I really want this job. I really want to be part of this organization. So that was really cool. I'd recommend anybody doing that if you can.
Yeah, definitely. And get to actually meet some of the people that you would see. I know you work in Manchester and you were coming to London, but it's always nice to kind of actually interact with people that you would be day to day. So
yeah. And when I joined, there was only London, so there was no, and that was the great thing about then setting up the Manchester office, and the first people there, and Luke and I fighting over whether WeWork was a good thing or not.
Okay.
That was brilliant.
Great. Nice. And what does your role here involve?
So I spent a long time on projects at Maytech, and now I've become senior and started having members of staff. It really is about pushing the value of product into all of the projects, because we are, despite the growth I've seen in 2 years, we've got that massive heritage of digital engineering, and the majority of our members of staff still are digital engineers. And so I really have to defend Product's Corner, and that becomes my job. Similarly, Harry's come on as head of UI UX, another facet of digital project delivery. And we have to elevate these disciplines to the same level of credibility as engineering has. And I love that challenge.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely nice to see more and more roles starting to join in
Yeah.
different areas of the company. It's just a nice mixture of people that are joining the team.
Uh, Definitely, and because I was a designer for such a long time, it's nice to actually have people to talk to about designery things and
Mm.
not just talk about engineering or product. So yeah, I love the breadth.
Great.
And research as well, because that's one area
Mm.
that I got really into, and now I meet people who share the same passion for that.
Nice, nice. What do you like most about being head of product management and business analysis?
I'm really enjoying the fact now that I get to coach and mentor people in Maytech and client teams, because I've uh, I've got like 20 years, 25 years experience now of doing projects really badly and then getting them less wrong through all of that time. And like this morning, project review, I was questioning about everything's too big. There's too much. We can't possibly do all of this. So I'm saying, well, here's two strategies to follow.
Mm.
Here's what you'll do. Here's what I recommend you do, rather, and here's how I recommend you do it, and here's how I recommend you get the team in place, and then we'll have a quick catch up tomorrow and say, well, did that work? And that kind of thing makes people feel far confident. When you've got imposter syndrome and you're not quite confident, and the new team's established. I like the fact that people can just say, "Hey, Andreas, I need a direction on this, or this is going wrong. How would you fix it?" And I love doing that because like I say, I think I've made all the mistakes you can do, or maybe I'm always discovering new ones to make. But then I've never actually failed on a project yet. So by some way, I've clawed it back and say, don't worry, because we can do this. We can, making people confident that they can do the job.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And what would you say are some of the most challenging things about your role?
So I finally got at Maytech the ability to talk openly about my dyslexia, because for years there just wasn't the culture to be able to talk about the fact that you're not good at some things and you're always going to have a problem. So in my role, writing is absolutely unavoidable. Writing lots of stuff. Can you do a blog post? Can you do a white paper or a case study? And I find that massively difficult. And similarly, the way my syndrome is that I have massive problems with short-term memory. Thankfully, computers and phones, it helped me out immeasurably here. But it's the key fact that Maytech are supportive of this. And once you actually say, I have this problem, then people go, well, it's reasonable to expect Andreas to like either, some of his languages are going to go on, some of my sentences go on for an awful long time, and people just help me out with that because the intent's there, the content is there. It's just not always as good as it possibly could be.
Sure, sure. Nice. And do you have any advice for someone who might want to join your team?
The advice is yes. Yeah, please. I think my team is the best team because it is the best team, because product and BA we're there to answer the questions of why, who for, and how do we know we've got this thing right? All the really fascinating stuff on a project, all the questions about value. When it comes to delivery or research or all of those, it's about lowering risk. And we're the people there who are actually saying, this is how you lower the risk. And we'll know we're right when we've met this measurement. It's the glue in between of all the projects. So anybody who wants to get involved in product, come and join the team or learn the skills. Yes, please.
Great, great. That's a great one. Yeah. What do you like most about working at Maytech?
I've written down this phrase here, and it's called the torturous freedom. And as I mentioned before, when Luke just kind of went, "You're the head of this capability, just go and do it," and I was like, "Oh my god!" And that's the best thing, because one of the things that I really suffer from is I get bored. my partner says I'm terrible, because whenever there's like a lull in work, I'm kind of like, oh my God, I need something to do this. But now I'm in the position where there's always something to do and there's always another challenge. It's like, how can we make recruitment scalable? Or how can we start working at program level and at project level? And things like 2 years ago, I would have thought, why am I in what governance on a project? How can that possibly be interesting? And now I'm the one going, we really need to talk about governance here and how we can make it more efficient, how we can make the team own it, and all of that kind of thing. Until people go, look, stop doing that, Andreas, which never happens at Made Tech. So that, like I say, it's that freedom to do things, and the fact that I torture myself with it. That's the best bit.
Yeah, definitely exciting when you have so many different ideas that you can work on, and you have the support system at Made Tech as well, and there's such a big culture of feedback as well, I think, which is important to.
Yeah, and that was really painful as well. I remember attending the session about how to give feedback. And I thought, this is really stupid. I know how to do this. But then I attended the session and I was like, I need to refine. I need to learn and change how to do this really quickly. And it meant that if you start giving feedback right at the beginning of your relationship with a client or with a member of staff or something like that, it just becomes normal, and it just becomes an open and an honest conversation. And I really like that. That's really valuable.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Do you have any books or resources you would recommend for someone interested in joining your team?
Yeah, I made a big list, and I've reduced it down to like some real nuggets. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is, if I pronounce his name right, it's Henrik Nieberg, and he's the guy who drew the diagram of MVP, skateboard to car, and about how we iterate. And he currently works for Mojang, the people who make Minecraft, and he's got a blog post there. And just the YouTube videos that have come off that blog post are brilliant. He's just written a book about pragmatic lean, actually deploying it on large scale projects. But it's the fact that everybody uses the diagram he must have drawn about 15 years ago, and very few people understand what it means. And so I would say, take the time to not just reproduce his diagram in a deck when you show, well, we're doing an agile project. Actually understand what he meant when he was saying it. It's the really important bit. And similarly with that, when I was starting, and service blueprint design, user story mapping was kind of emergent. And Jeff Patton wrote the book about user story mapping. But the interesting book about that book isn't the bit about user story mapping, it's all the other stuff in there. So read the whole book. Don't just read the bit about user story mapping. Read the bit about how you get there and the why, and then make up your own way of user story mapping. I know I did. And that's why anybody who knows how to do formal user story mapping then says, Andreas, yours is different. And I say, yeah, that's because it's mine. It works for me. I understand this, and I think I could tell the story better by doing that. And finally, the whole world of product is really quite strange, because it's loads of bits that come together. And the best single place for all that to be put together is Jake Knapp's Google Sprint book. Yeah, how to make massive decisions in just 5 days of intense workshops. And that summarizes product so neatly. And I steal day 5, which is the how do you test something really quickly with developers and users, with the developers watching rather. And so those three people I would strongly recommend. I mean, I've got a massive stack of all of these, but often you just get value from like a single bit within a book, and the rest of it you're a bit meh about. And those are ones where I'd say the whole thing is worthwhile.
Nice, great, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It was really interesting hearing about your experience and what your role is like. And if anyone would like to get in touch with Made Tech or has any other questions for Andreas about his role here, I will add our contact information to the description below. Please feel free to reach out, and be sure to stay tuned for our next Made Tech team interview coming next month. Again, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much.